taken out. And I know what you mean if you get into a discussion with a bunch of preachers. That can just last forever and ever, amen. It's like the song Randy Travis wrote, forever and ever, amen. It is good to see everybody tonight, all the smiling faces. And I'm looking forward to fall getting here. I don't know about you, it'll only last for 4 days. That's all we have here in the Carolinas. We have 4 days of fall. We have summer, 4 days of fall, and then winter. Or summer might show back up. We don't know. We don't have much fall. I'd like to have more fall, but none of us have any control over that. I want to be like Jesus. We hopefully want to be like Jesus. We started last week this series of having the eyes of Jesus. And of course, I always think of songs. Open my eyes to what you see so that I can understand who I should be. And there's a first verse in that song that goes with tonight's lesson. Open my heart to what you know so I can stretch, so I can grow. My feelings toss me to and fro. Open my heart to what you know. Now, I know when we talk about the heart, we're going to look at 4 things, I believe, that Jesus has a passion for. And when you talk about heart, you're going to think, wait a minute, that's mind and heart. And we're not, thrasos is one of the Greek terms that referred to the bowels, the inner part of man, that part where the desire was, the feeling. But it kind of referred to heart. Heart facts, when you think about the heart, it's an amazing organ in our body. 96,000 kilometers long, the veins, arteries, capillaries. It's long enough to go around the world more than twice. That's a lot of stuff. Long, all involved in our body and the passages that are there with the blood to go into and out of the heart and through all of the various parts of the heart where it's supposed to be. The adult heart pumps about 5 liters of blood each minute, approximately 8,000 liters of blood each day throughout the body. That is a powerful pump, isn't it, Brett? Yeah, well, in reference to the human body. I know the engineer was going, I got pumps. And not got one that'll last that long. Exactly. Heart beats about 100,000 times each day, and in a 70-year lifetime, the average human heart beats more than 2.5 billion times. Makes you really appreciate the fact as it continues to beat. And in those moments when it becomes irregular and all the things that occur, arrhythmia and AFib and all of those things that happen with the heart, when it malfunctions, the whole body, kind of gets out of kilter. A child's heart is about the size of a clenched fist. An adult's heart only grows to about twice that. The actual heart muscle itself gets to be that particular size. Blood is about 78% water, and it takes about 20 seconds to circulate through the entire vascular system. And that is crucial as the heart itself. Valves start breaking down. Sometimes the heart doesn't perfuse through the body as the way it should. And that creates other issues as well. And when we here now 3 times a year, are able to contribute blood, and after the story that Joe shared this morning, I hope some of you think, hey, I can do that now. If the lady that did that and showed up at the time, it was just amazing, her dedication, her desire, to make something happen. And so the heart is such a crucial organ in the body. The heart of Jesus, it is about blood flow. It is about his blood. But it's also about his passion. Because when we think of heart, we think of passion. And so there's some things Jesus is very passionate about. In John chapter 6, we're going to look at 4 particular passages tonight. John 6. And here Jesus shares, there's several things he shares about himself in John 6 and his desire. He was talking about bread. They tell him in verse 34, Lord, give us this bread always. And in verse 35, he says, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst. But I say to you that you have seen me and yet do not believe. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will be by no means cast out. For I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, but to do the will of my Father, the will of him who sent me. What is your passion? what do you want more than anything? Jesus would share, at least in this moment, one of the things I want to do more than anything else is to please my Father. At the center of his heart was his Father. His desire to do what his Father wanted him to do. And it is that desire. It was because of this that his heart was filled with what God wanted for his life. Every moment of his life, everything that he did, every decision. You can remember back at Luke 12 when he talked to his mother. And his mother wondered, why in the world did you not, you're supposed to be with us. We're keeping up with you. Don't you know that I must be about my Father's business? Even at a very early age, at 12, he realized that's what I'm here for. Every child. And that special relationship between child and father, child and mother for that matter, look up to, long for. I want to be like them. I want to do what they want me to do. I want to please them. Now, transition into adolescence, sometimes we wrestle through that, but eventually we'll come back to it. We'll see a lot. That's that moment of time when we realize, we think, well, my parents don't know anything, and then all of a sudden you get a little older and you realize, man, they're brilliant. And that'll happen to all of you, by the way. Some of you have gone through that moment of where you're going, I'm not sure about everything, and they don't know all the things that are going on in the world. Jesus knew his Father did. If there was ever a father who got it, it was God. And Jesus knew that about his Father. He also realized that the kind of the key to his heart, the way that is your love for God at the center of your heart. That was where Jesus' love was. The very man that said, when he was asked, what are the greatest commands? To love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. That was Jesus. He looked up to, he adored his Father, and he wanted to please him. It was about doing what his Father wanted him to do. It's never more evidence than on the cross. Father, forgive them. Spoke to his Father first. His last words are, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. His journey on the cross is a conversation with and a commitment to his Father's will. From start to finish. How does our love for God show up in our priorities and our actions? If you look at Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John with Jesus, none of it's about Jesus. Kind of startling to see how much it is about God and about why he's here. I'm going to see that in a couple of the crucial things that he wants. Because he had a passion as well, not only for his Father, but he had a passion for the lost. You know this text, Luke 19:10. In Luke, it's an interesting section of Scripture where he actually responds to this, because if you remember, the house that he had just been to was a house of somebody that was hated in the neighborhood. This is remember the Zacchaeus was a wee little man. I'm up in the sycamore because the Lord he wanted to see. As the Savior passed that way, he looked up at it. Zacchaeus, you come down. I'm going to your house today. What's that all about? That's all about God, through Jesus, him showing his passion for those who were hurting and lost. Here was an individual who was disliked, and no one wanted to really go to his house. But Jesus said, I'll go to your house. He had a desire for those who were struggling and lost. In Luke 19, if you look at it, Jesus said in verse 9 beginning as he spoke to him, today salvation has come to this house because he also is a son of Abraham. See, that's the key signature in recognizing, what about our commitment to the lost? Everybody's a son of Abraham. Son of Noah, ultimately, if you look all the way back. There's not a diversity. There's not a distinction in us. We're not that different. We have become different because we've made choices that have diversified us and have distanced us from each other. But God says, I want you to understand that no matter how bad you think someone is, they still deserve Jesus to come to their house. Which means, if we have the heart of Jesus, I need to be at their house. I need to be the individual that sees them as worthy to be brought into a relationship with God, because Jesus himself says, I don't care what you think about Zacchaeus, I'm going to his house. And later he would be known as a friend of publicans and sinners. I think mainly one because of his going to the house of Zacchaeus. And it is that, in verse 10, it says, for the Son of Man has come to seek and to save those who are lost. And then earlier in Luke, he shares the story in Luke 15. I'm not going to have time to read the entirety of the story, but you know those stories there. You have the story of the sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. And when you think of each of those, as time will allow just briefly for me tonight to think about what happens in each one of those. You've got the lost sheep, you've got the lost coin. When you look first, it's 100 sheep, loses one, leaves the 99, goes and looks for the one. Even in early first century Jewish culture, that was something they could have understood as they kept the sheep in one regard and realized that one lost, if you don't go find him, he's going to die. Philip Kelleher wrote a book called The Shepherd Looks at the Psalms. And in that book, you haven't heard this in a while, I'll just remind us, sheep are not bright. There's another word he uses, but I'm trying to be careful with kids. A word that we don't. He says sheep, they wander. They'll kind of leave the green pasture. There's a reason in Psalm 23, he leads me to the green pastures, because sheep will walk off to the green pasture and they'll go find stagnant water, and it may be sitting there a long time, and it may be just totally vile and poisonous, and they'll drink it anyway because they're not too bright. Jesus says he'll leave them and go find that, because if you don't go find that sheep soon, he's going to be dead. Now the coin, I've always thought of the interesting thing about the coin. The coin can't help it. I liken the coin to lost car keys. You know, it's not their fault they're lost. And you go, what's that with the sheep? Well, he's kind of wondering, needs somebody to go find him. The coin's not going to find itself either. Key's not going to find it. You know that neat thing they came up with? I think Pam actually thought of getting it for me. I've done a better job in the latter years. She's given me a drawer in the kitchen. It's a special drawer just for me. That when I come home in the evening, I open that drawer, my keys, my change, my ring, all of those things that before I'd be, honey, have you seen my keys? Honey, have you seen my ring? See, I don't have to worry about that now. I got a special drawer just for that I can make sure that it's all in the right place. But if it doesn't have a place and it gets lost, and it's the special celebration that is shared here when the coin is found of, look, that which was lost has been found. But the most impelling, the story that to me he's trying to get through, because in the context of Luke 15, he's with the tax collectors and the sinners. Notice that they drew near to him to listen to him. Why did the people that most people did not like want to come to Jesus? Have you ever asked yourself that? And here is an even more startling personal analysis question. The people that are hurting seek me out? Or do they avoid me? Jesus was approachable by anyone and everyone. Children flocked to Jesus. And in this case, individuals who are hurting, looking, listening for an answer. But the Pharisees, and see, there's a unique dissonance here as it's introduced about the lost, because everybody mentioned in verses 1 and 2 are lost. The scribes or the tax collectors and the sinners know it, the Pharisees don't. Now, somebody's going to imagine me, how do you know the Pharisees are lost? Read Matthew 23. I'm not saying all Pharisees. I'm thinking some of them could have come to an awareness that, hey, we've made our own religion and it's not working and we need to follow Jesus. Some did. But in this tension context, you've got this incredible picture of people coming to Jesus. One group wants to listen to him. The other one's trying to catch him in something. And what they say, the Pharisees, this man receives sinners and eats with them. And what he doesn't say directly, he says subtly, you ought to be doing the same thing. And then when he gets to the last story in the lostness, it's the story of the lost son. And we have made so much about the one who leaves, but it's not the one who leaves that the major part of this story is about. Now, I know it can be about that, but I think it's about the son on the porch, sulking, because he's been faithful, and somebody come home that didn't deserve it, that had wasted it, and he's treated in his mind for that moment better than him, and he gets jealous, and he doesn't understand that lostness, genuine lostness, is the worst possible place in the world to be. But if you're at home and lost, it's incredibly dangerous because you don't realize it. And Jesus is just as concerned. See, his love for the Pharisees. You can read Matthew 23 and say he loved the Pharisees. I can absolutely say that. Because when you read Matthew 23, he calls it like he sees it. You're whitewashed tombstones. You're straining the gnats. You're swallowing camels. You try to make somebody like you, and then you don't behave yourself. I'm paraphrasing a lot of what happens in Matthew 23. And then when he gets to the end of it, he says, he looks at them, and I believe it's with tears in his eyes when he says, how often would I have gathered you like a mother hen would her chicks, and you wouldn't? I've tried to reach out to you. I've tried to communicate with you, and you're not listening because you're so close to the house. I'm going to use the temple in this regard, that you can't see Jesus. Can we get so caught up in church we can't see Jesus? I think it's possible. That we can get so caught up in doctrine that do not mishear me. Do not mishear me. Because John 14, Jesus says, if you love me, keep my commandments. It is about being obedient and doing everything. But I'm preaching to the choir tonight in one sense. And that is where with the heart of Jesus, I've got to make sure that I don't become so judgmental about those who are not faithful that I'm not faithful. And I miss opportunities to reach out because I'm so caught up in my own relationship with God and the fact that I think he owes me something. Because that's what the son at home thought. I've stayed here. I've worked. What are you doing? And the father says, I'm saving a lost son. Your lost brother that you don't want to be around, that you don't care about. Open your eyes. Use my heart. He had a heart to do the will of his Father. He had a heart for the lost. And the turning point in that is verse 20. Number one is he got up and went to his father. He even refers to his sons being dead, now alive. He had a passion for the lost. Do I have that same passion? Who has God placed in my life that I should show them the love of God and help them realize that they're lost and how much God loves them? See, here's where I want you to think of a person in your life. Because without a doubt, in my mind right now, I know that there is at least one. There may be many. But I know there's at least one person that you know that is lost, and much like the sheep has wandered, or much like the coin doesn't know it. And somebody needs to go find him or her. You might just be that somebody. And what I'm asking you to do is get off the porch. But I want to stay faithful to God. I want to do, you can do that. But get off the porch. Recognize the lostness of that person and let it motivate you to do something about it. How does your passion translate into action? Are you going to pray for that person first? Or are you going to approach that individual at some point and say, I want to talk with you about where you are spiritually. I care enough about you to have this discussion. What can I do to help you make a better choice? His passion for his friends. Isn't it weird to think of Jesus having friends? I think sometimes it is for us. We think of the Son of God, creator of the universe. We could take a lot of time here. I'm just going to take a few minutes. In John 17, he says a very powerful prayer that we've kind of been focused on all year. But in verse 6, and we're not going to read the entirety of this, I've manifested your name to the men whom you've given me out of the world. They were yours, you gave them to me, and they have kept your word. Now they've known all the things that you've given me are from you. For I have given to them the words which you've given me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came forth from you, and they have believed that you sent me. I pray for them. These are the men, I think most specifically the 12. I even include Judas in that regard, and later Matthias will come in, but he's praying for them because he knows their journey right now, what he has equipped them to do, is going to be one of the most difficult things, because they're going to have to be willing to give their lives. All save John die a martyr's death. John dies a natural death. He is the only one that we know of historically that dies of old age. In captivity most likely, but he dies of old age. Do I have that kind of passion for my friends like Jesus? That I want to make sure that those individuals that I have a relationship with, that I pray for them, that I spend time with them, that we encourage each other, that we sharpen each other. One of the cool things, even thinking back to Daryl sharing that discussion with fellow preachers, do you have someone that can stretch you? Do you have someone in your life that can make you get past your normalcy and make you think sometimes and make you actually look and study? Not only do you have somebody in your life that can stretch you, that's a special friend. Do you have somebody in your life as a friend who can stop you? What do you mean? Do you have someone that's got the courage when you're maybe headed in the direction you shouldn't be, or you're maybe doing something that's not good, that will walk up to you and say, stop it? I care enough about you. See, Jesus is that kind of friend. He had those kind of friends. See, what we don't recognize, when Peter stood toe-to-toe with Jesus, he was trying to be his friend. Now, a lot of times we'll beat Peter up about that because Peter's not listening. He's not hearing the full story. But in Jesus' mind, when he stood up to Jesus and said, that's not going to happen because I'm going to defend you, that was a true friend, risking and realizing, I care enough about Jesus. I'll argue with people to the day that I die that in the Garden of Gethsemane, Peter was willing to keep his commitment to Jesus. When he took the sword out of the sheath and went after the high priest's servant, it wasn't his ear he was aiming for. When he told Jesus, I will die for you, at the moment he removed the sword and went after the servant of the high priest, that was him keeping his commitment as a friend. The confusion started when Jesus said him, put his sword back up, put the ear back on, and Peter goes, what are we doing? And when he sees his master taken off, do I have those kind of friends? It says there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother, and that friend is obviously in the proverb writer's mind, I believe, not only Jesus, but God himself. You are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. I call you no longer friends, but now we have been adopted into the family. We have a special relationship with God. I'm convinced that fellowship is an incredibly deeper bond than friendship. And that's what Jesus challenges us to have. But then also, as we're here in John 17, he has a passion for those of us that are going to be after that group, those who follow. Look at John 17:20. I do not pray for these alone, but also for those who will follow, who believe in me through their word, that they all may be one as you, Father, in me, and I in you, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that you've sent me. What's going to make a difference in our world today? If individuals see that we're following Jesus and that our passion is for him, having the heart of Jesus. Are you passionate about your relationship with God? Passionate about the lost, your friends, and those who would follow? And does that show up in my actions? So you can tell a lot about our commitment, about our passion, about our heart for God. And we look at the latter moments of Jesus' life. His passion needs to be our passion. And when it is, we'll see our passion, our purpose in life, and live with meaning and direction. That passion gives us focus. The focus it gave him, it took him to a cross. And you look at me and go, whoa, wait a minute. You mean you're... Jesus himself said, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up her cross and follow me. See, the cross is about passion. It's about Jesus' willingness to come here knowing full well the whole time what was going to end up was he was going to have to give himself for us. Boy, it's a journey from where we are to where we need to be. And I say that publicly before you deny it. I'm figuring out, okay, how do I do that personally? How do I take up my cross? How do I deny myself in that way? How do I get the passion? How do I want to please God so much that it's fleshed out in my choices and my daily decisions? How do I want to seek out those who are struggling and make a difference in their lives like Jesus did? How do I want to make sure that my friends are stretched and stopped and doing the things that they should be doing and not doing the things they shouldn't be doing? And I want to make sure that individuals are following him. Because if I first try to, maybe I can in some small way influence other individuals to follow him too. I think that's why he brought the family of God together. That's why church is important. And again, I'm saying that to the wrong group. You're here because your passion, your desire is to please God. That's one of the key reasons you're here on a Sunday night, twice on a Sunday. So for that you're applauded, for that you're praised. Not that you're looking for that, not that you want that, but it is an acknowledgement that you're striving at least in part to do what God wants you to do, that you're being passionate about praising him. And also about encouraging me and encouraging one another. So tonight, where does it take you? Do I start looking at my life and saying, what am I passionate about? And am I passionate about the same things? Just give me the heart of Jesus. You know, I love the song selection. Without him, there's not a thing. In fact, he tells us in John 15, without me, you can do nothing. But with me, you're going to be able to accomplish. So are you with him tonight? Are you in a relationship with Jesus through penitent faith, confession of Jesus as Lord, and baptism that places you into the body of Christ? Or is there some other need that you have? It's wonderful to hear Elliot share this morning just the answered prayers already to this point and his gratitude for the love that exists here. Maybe there's something else you need to share. That's why we have this moment and this song. If we can help, come as we stand and sing.